Local law assigned me to you. I'm yours now. No questions asked. The unexpected assignment Captain Marcus Kane stood at the observation deck of the UES Pathfinder, watching the swirling blues and greens of Xerion Prime below. The human colony ship had been in orbit for 3 days, awaiting clearance from the planetary government to establish their settlement. What should have been a routine colonization mission had turned into a complex diplomatic dance with the native Xerians. The comm system crackled to life. Captain Kane to the bridge immediately. Priority 1 transmission from the surface. Marcus sighed, straightening his uniform jacket. At 42, he had seen enough of the galaxy to know that Priority 1 messages rarely brought good news. His weathered face, marked by years of deep space exploration, carried the weight of responsibility for the 3,000 souls aboard his ship. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as Marcus entered. Lieutenant Commander Patricia Voss, his first officer, turned from the communications console with a puzzled expression. Her short auburn hair was slightly disheveled, a sure sign she had been running her hands through it, a habit she developed when dealing with confusing situations. "Sir, we're receiving a formal diplomatic transmission from the Xerion High Council. It's unusual," Patricia said, her green eyes reflecting her confusion. "Define unusual, Commander," Marcus replied, settling into his captain's chair. "They're requesting a formal meeting with you, but not about the colonization rights. They want to discuss something called mandatory companionship protocols. The translation algorithms are having trouble with some of the legal terminology." Marcus frowned. The Xerians were known throughout the galaxy as a peaceful but highly bureaucratic species. Their purple-skinned, tall, elegant forms moved with grace, but their minds worked in ways that often baffled other species. They had 17 different categories of laws just for greeting strangers. "Put them through main screen," Marcus ordered. View screen flickered to life, revealing a spacious chamber with crystalline walls that seemed to pulse with inner light. 3 Xerians sat behind a curved desk, their elongated heads crowned with flowing silver hair that seemed to move like liquid mercury. The center figure, distinguished by intricate golden markings on her face, spoke in a melodious voice. "Greetings, Captain Kane. I am High Counselor Zephyr Anethan. We must discuss a matter of utmost importance regarding your extended stay in our system. High Counselor, we appreciate your hospitality. However, I believe there may be some confusion. We're only seeking temporary orbital position while our colony ships prepare for surface operations." Zephyr's large opalescent eyes seemed to shimmer with what Marcus could only interpret as amusement. "Captain, your vessel has been in our space for 72 hours. According to Xerion Legal Code 847-3B, any unmarried individual of childbearing age who remains in our system beyond the standard diplomatic period must be assigned a companion for social and cultural integration purposes." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" "The law is quite clear, Captain. You are 37 years old, unmarried, and have exceeded the permitted stay duration. Therefore, you have been assigned a companion. Her name is Liara Vex, and she is being transported to your vessel as we speak." Patricia leaned forward, her voice tight with barely controlled incredulity. "High Counselor, with all due respect, we were not informed of any such law. Captain Kane is the commanding officer of a human vessel operating under Earth Alliance protocols." The second Xerion counselor, a male with deep blue markings, spoke up. "Ignorance of local law does not exempt one from compliance. The companion assignment is non-negotiable. Miss Vex is a highly qualified cultural liaison with extensive training in human customs." Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair, feeling the first hints of gray at his temples. "What exactly does this companion assignment entail?" "Miss Vex will live aboard your vessel and serve as your personal cultural advisor. She will help you understand Xerion society while learning about human customs. The arrangement continues until either party formally requests dissolution or until you leave our system permanently." The third counselor, elderly with intricate, silver tattoos covering her arms, added, The law exists to prevent cultural misunderstandings and promote peaceful coexistence. Many successful partnerships have resulted from these arrangements. Before Marcus could respond, Lieutenant Torres, from the communication station, called out, "Captain, we have an incoming shuttle from the planet's surface. They're requesting permission to dock." Marcus looked at Patricia, who shrugged helplessly. "Sir, we're in their space. Technically, we have to comply with local laws if we want to maintain diplomatic relations." "High Counselor," Marcus said, turning back to the screen, "I need to understand the full scope of this arrangement. What are the expectations and limitations?" Zafira's expression softened slightly. "Captain Kane, Miss Vex is a volunteer who specifically requested assignment to a human officer. She is a xenobiologist and cultural anthropologist with particular interest in human psychology and social structures. The arrangement is purely professional, though many such assignments have developed into deeper relationships over time. And, if I refuse, then your vessel will be required to leave our system within 6 hours and your colonization request will be denied permanently." Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, weighing his options. 3,000 colonists were counting on him to secure this world for their new home. The planet was perfect, similar atmosphere to Earth, abundant resources, and strategically located for future expansion. He could not let personal discomfort jeopardize the mission. "Very well, High Counselor. I accept the assignment under protest, but I accept it." "Excellent. Miss Vex should be arriving momentarily. We look forward to a productive cultural exchange." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Patricia moved to stand beside Marcus's chair. "Sir, are you sure about this? We could find another world." Marcus shook his head. "We've spent 2 years looking for a suitable planet. The colonists are eager to begin their new lives, and we're running low on supplies. Besides, it's just a cultural exchange. How complicated could it be?" The docking bay alert chimed throughout the ship. "Incoming shuttle requesting permission to dock. Passenger manifest shows one individual. Liara Vex, cultural liaison." Marcus stood, straightening his uniform once more. "Commander Voss, you have the bridge. I'll greet our guest in the docking bay." As he walked through the corridors of his ship, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to become infinitely more complicated. The crew members he passed looked at him with expressions ranging from curiosity to sympathy. Word traveled fast on a ship. The docking bay was bustling with activity as the sleek Xerian shuttle settled onto the deck with barely a whisper. The hull was a pearlescent white that seemed to shift colors in the artificial light. As the airlock cycled, Marcus found himself holding his breath. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Marcus got his first look at Liara Vex. She was tall, even, for a Xerian, with the typical purple-tinged skin of her species. But unlike the formal counselors he had just spoken with, she seemed younger, more vibrant. Her silver hair was shorter, cut in a practical style that framed her face. She wore a simple but elegant outfit that seemed to be a hybrid of Xerion and human fashion. What struck Marcus most were her eyes, a brilliant golden color that seemed to hold intelligence, curiosity, and perhaps a touch of nervousness. "Captain Kane," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality typical of her species but with an accent he couldn't place. "I am Liara Vex. According to local law, I am now assigned to you. I'm yours now, no questions asked." An awkward beginning. Marcus stared at Liara for a moment longer than was probably polite, still processing the surreal situation. The docking bay around them continued its normal operations, but he felt as though he were standing in a bubble of awkward silence. "Miss Vex," he finally managed, "I want you to know that I had no prior knowledge of this arrangement. I hope you weren't coerced into this assignment." Liara's golden eyes sparkled with what might have been amusement. "Captain, I volunteered for this position. I've been studying human culture for 5 years, and when the opportunity arose to work directly with a human crew, I couldn't pass it up. Consider me an eager student rather than an unwilling participant." Relief flooded through Marcus. At least she was here by choice. "Well then, welcome aboard the UES Pathfinder. Let me show you to your quarters." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Marcus noticed how Liara's head turned constantly, taking in every detail of human engineering and design. She paused at a recreation area where off-duty crew members were playing cards and laughing loudly. "Fascinating," she murmured. "The social dynamics are much more casual than I expected. Xerion crews maintain strict hierarchical interactions at all times. We believe that relaxed social interaction during off-duty hours actually improves performance and morale," Marcus explained, "though we maintain discipline during operations." They continued toward the guest quarters, passing through the ship's central hub. The Pathfinder was a Titan-class colony ship, designed to transport large numbers of people across vast distances. Its rotating sections provided artificial gravity, and the central core housed the ship's critical systems. "Your quarters are here," Marcus said, stopping at a door marked with temporary nameplate reading LVEX, Cultural Liaison. "I had the quartermaster prepare the room with what we believe are appropriate accommodations for your species. If anything needs adjustment, please let me know." Liara placed her palm on the door scanner and it slid open to reveal a spacious cabin with a large viewport showing the stars beyond. The room had been configured with both human and Xerion furnishings, based on the limited cultural exchange data available. "This is wonderful," Liara said, setting down her single travel case. "Much more luxurious than I expected. On Xerion vessels, personal space is quite limited." "We believe comfort improves long-term performance," Marcus said. "There's a replicator unit for food and basic supplies, though you're welcome to join us in the main dining hall if you prefer. The computer has been programmed with several Xerion dietary requirements." Liara moved to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. "Captain, may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Are you uncomfortable with this arrangement? I can sense some tension in your posture and voice patterns." Marcus was surprised by her perceptiveness. "I'll be honest, Miss Vex, the situation is unprecedented. I've never had a cultural liaison assigned to me personally, especially not under these circumstances. I'm not sure what's expected of me." "Nothing is expected of you beyond what you would normally do as a ship's captain," Liara said, turning to face him. "I'm here to observe and learn. Think of me as a very interested passenger who happens to have official status." "What exactly are you hoping to learn?" Liara's expression became more serious. "Captain, humanity is the newest species to achieve interstellar travel, yet you've spread farther and faster than any other race in known history. You've established colonies in 12 different star systems in just 50 years. Most species take centuries to achieve such expansion." "We're explorers by nature," Marcus said simply. "But it's more than that, isn't it? I've studied your history, your wars, your achievements. Humans seem to possess a unique combination of curiosity, resilience, and adaptability that other species lack. I want to understand what drives you." Marcus considered her words. "What drives us? I suppose it's the belief that there's always something better just beyond the horizon. We're never satisfied with what we have. We always want to see what's next." "Even when it's dangerous?" "Especially when it's dangerous." Liara nodded thoughtfully. "That's what I don't understand. Xerions plan extensively before taking any action. We analyze, debate, and form committees. Humans seem to act first and figure out the consequences later. Sometimes you have to jump before you know where you'll land," Marcus said. "If you wait until you have all the answers, you'll never move. At all." A chime sounded from Marcus's communicator. "Captain, to the bridge, we have a situation developing." Marcus sighed. "Duty calls. Miss Vex, please make yourself comfortable. We'll talk more later." "Actually, Captain, could I accompany you to the bridge? I'd like to observe how you handle crisis situations." Marcus hesitated. Bridge operations were typically restricted to crew members only, but Liara was now officially part of the mission, and her request seemed reasonable from a cultural exchange perspective. "Very well, but please remain in the observation area and don't interfere with operations." The bridge was buzzing with activity when they arrived. Patricia Voss immediately approached Marcus, her expression grim. "Sir, we're receiving distress signals from the outer system. 3 civilian vessels appear to be under attack by unidentified ships." Marcus moved to his command chair, his casual demeanor instantly replaced by focused intensity. Details, Commander. Attacked vessels are human freighters carrying colonist supplies. The attacking ships don't match any known configurations in our database. They're jamming communications, so we're only receiving fragmented distress calls. Liara watched from the observation area as Marcus processed the information. She noticed how his entire crew seemed to come alive with purposeful energy, each person focused on their specific responsibilities while maintaining awareness of the larger situation. Distance to the attack zone? Marcus asked. 47 minutes at maximum speed. Time until local system defense forces can respond? At least 2 hours, sir. They're dealing with a separate incident in the inner system. Marcus stood, pacing, briefly as he considered options. Liara observed his thought process with fascination. There was no committee, no lengthy debate. He was processing multiple variables simultaneously and preparing to act. All right, people, we're going to help. Navigator, plot a course to the attack zone. Engineering, I need maximum power to engines and weapons. Communications, try to raise the Xerion High Council and inform them of our intentions. Sir, Patricia said quietly. We're a colony ship, not a warship. We have minimal armament and 3,000 civilians aboard. Those are human civilians under attack, Commander. We're not going to abandon them. Liara stepped forward, unable to contain her curiosity. Captain, forgive my interruption, but what is your strategic objective? You're risking many lives to save a few. Marcus turned to her, his eyes hard with determination. Miss Vex, this is what I was talking about. Sometimes you have to act without knowing all the consequences. Those people are depending on us, and we're the only ones who can help them right now. But the logical action would be to wait for proper military support. Logic doesn't account for the human factor, Marcus said. We don't abandon our own, regardless of the odds. The ship shuddered as the engines engaged at full power, accelerating toward the outer system. Liara gripped the observation rail, her mind racing to understand the human decision-making process she was witnessing. ETA to attack zone. 39 minutes, the navigator reported. All hands, this is the captain, Marcus announced over the ship's communication system. We are responding to a distress call from human vessels under attack. All civilian personnel are to report to secure areas immediately. This is not a drill. As the crew prepared for potential combat, Liara realized she was witnessing something extraordinary. The humans weren't just risking their lives, they were doing it without hesitation, driven by principles that defied purely logical analysis. Captain, she said quietly, I think I'm beginning to understand what makes humans different. Marcus glanced at her as alarms began sounding throughout the ship. We're just getting started, Miss Vex. You haven't seen anything yet. Trial by fire. The UES Pathfinder dropped out of FTL drive at the edge of the combat zone, and the main screen immediately filled with the chaos of battle. 3 human freighters were under attack by 4 sleek, predatory-looking vessels that Marcus had never seen before. The unknown ships moved with deadly precision, their dark hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Report, Marcus ordered, settling into his command chair as the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. The freighters are the Carson's Dream, New Horizon, and Stellar Promise, Communications Officer Lieutenant Torres reported. They're carrying agricultural equipment and medical supplies for the colony. Heavy damage to all 3 vessels. The attacking ships are using some kind of energy weapon we've never encountered, added Tactical Officer Commander Ryan Brooks. It's disrupting the freighter's power systems rather than causing direct hull damage. Liara watched from the observation area, her golden eyes wide as she absorbed the scene. The human crew worked with an efficiency that impressed her, but she could also sense their underlying tension. They knew they were outgunned. Sir, the Carson's Dream is losing atmosphere, Torres called out. They're requesting immediate evacuation assistance. Marcus studied the tactical display. The 4 attacking vessels were arranged in a hunting formation, herding the damaged freighters like predators surrounding wounded prey. The Pathfinder was larger than any of the ships involved, but it was designed for transport, not combat. Commander Brooks, what's our weapon status? We have 6 defensive, pulse cannons and basic shielding, Nothing compared to what those attackers are packing. Captain, Patricia said quietly, we could launch shuttles for evacuation while staying at a safe distance. We don't have to engage directly. Marcus considered this for a moment, then shook his head. Those ships won't let us evacuate anyone while they're operational. We need to take them out of the fight. Liara found herself leaning forward despite her intention to remain a passive observer. Captain, surely you don't intend to attack 4 superior vessels with minimal armament. Miss Vex, you wanted to understand human nature. Watch and learn. Marcus activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage hostile vessels in defense of human civilians. I know this ship wasn't designed for combat, but neither were the people who built her. We're going to show these attackers what happens when they threaten innocent humans. The crew's response was immediate and unanimous, a collective roar of approval that echoed through the ship's corridors. Liara felt a chill run down her spine at the sound. It was primitive, almost barbaric, but also strangely inspiring. Engineering, give me everything you've got, Marcus ordered. Brooks, target the lead vessel. Navigation, take us in fast and low. The Pathfinder accelerated toward the battle zone, its massive bulk gaining momentum like an avalanche. The attacking vessels seemed to notice the approaching colony ship for the first time, with 2 of them breaking off from the freighters to engage this new threat. Incoming fire, Brooks announced. Brace for impact. Energy beams lanced across space, striking the Pathfinder's shields. The ship shuddered but held course. Shields at 80%, engineering reported. Return fire, Marcus ordered. The Pathfinder's pulse cannons fired in coordinated bursts, but the attacking vessels were faster and more maneuverable. They danced around the larger ship's weapons fire, striking back with increasing intensity. Shields at 60%. Captain, Patricia said urgently, at this rate we'll be disabled before we can help the freighters. Marcus's jaw tightened as he studied the tactical display. The conventional approach wasn't working. He needed to think like a human, not like a textbook strategist. Navigation, new course, take us directly at the largest attacker. Maximum speed. Sir, that's a collision course, the navigator protested. I know exactly what it is. Execute the order. Liara gasped as she realized what Marcus was planning. Captain, you cannot seriously intend to ram that vessel. Not ram, Miss Vex. Intimidate. The Pathfinder, massing several times more than any of the attacking vessels, accelerated directly toward the lead enemy ship. The hostile craft held its course for several seconds, firing continuously, then suddenly broke away as it became clear the massive human ship wasn't going to yield. Now, Marcus shouted, all weapons on the lead ship. With the enemy vessels, evasive maneuvers compromised by the near collision, the Pathfinder's weapons found their mark. The attacking ship's shields collapsed under the concentrated fire, and secondary explosions began erupting across its hull. One down, Brooks reported with satisfaction. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining 3 attackers regrouped and began coordinating their assault on the Pathfinder. Energy beams struck the colony ship from multiple angles, overwhelming its defensive systems. Shields failing, engineering called out as sparks flew from overloaded consoles. Hull breach on Deck 7, Torres added. Emergency teams responding. Marcus watched the tactical display as the situation deteriorated. The freighters were still dying. His own ship was taking heavy damage, and the enemy seemed to have unlimited ammunition. Captain, Liara said, her voice tight with concern. Perhaps it's time to consider withdrawal. We don't withdraw. Marcus replied grimly. Not when people are counting on us. Suddenly, Communications Officer Torres looked up from her station with surprise. Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from the Carson's Dream. Captain Rodriguez says they've managed to restore partial power to their engines. An idea began forming in Marcus's mind. Can they maneuver? Limited capability, but yes. Marcus activated the emergency command frequency. All freighter captains, this is Captain Kane of the Pathfinder. I need you to trust me and follow my orders exactly. 3 voices responded almost simultaneously. We're with you, Captain. Good. Here's what we're going to do. Over the next several minutes, Marcus coordinated a complex maneuver that would have been impossible with any other species. The damaged freighters, despite their own critical situations, positioned themselves according to his instructions. The Pathfinder served as both bait and anvil, drawing the attacking ships into a carefully constructed killing zone. Liara watched in amazement as the human vessels worked together with perfect coordination, each captain trusting Marcus's plan without question or hesitation. When the trap was sprung, the remaining 3 enemy ships found themselves caught in a crossfire from multiple directions. All weapons, continuous fire, Marcus ordered. The space around the enemy vessels filled with energy beams from every angle. Unable to evade effectively while caught in the formation, the attacking ships began taking critical damage. One by one, they either exploded or broke off, retreating into the outer system. Enemy vessels are withdrawing, Brooks reported. All hostiles are clear of the area. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Marcus remained focused on the aftermath. Status report on the freighters. Carson's Dream has severe hull damage but is stable. New Horizon lost their navigation systems but is otherwise intact. Stellar Promise needs immediate medical assistance. They have casualties. Launch all available shuttles for rescue operations, Marcus ordered. Medical teams to stand by. As the immediate crisis passed, Liara approached Marcus's command chair. Her usual composure had been replaced by something approaching awe. Captain, what you just accomplished should have been impossible. You were outnumbered, outgunned, and operating with civilian vessels. Marcus looked at her, noting the change in her demeanor. Miss Vex, you wanted to understand what makes humans different. Today you saw it. We don't calculate odds when lives are at stake. We find a way to win, regardless of the circumstances. But how did you know the other captains would follow your orders without question? Because they're human, Marcus said simply. We may argue about everything else, but when it comes to protecting our own, we stand together. Over the next several hours, rescue operations proceeded smoothly. The Pathfinder's medical bay was filled with injured civilians from the freighters, but the human doctors and nurses worked tirelessly to treat everyone. Liara spent time in the medical bay, observing the treatment of both human and alien patients with equal care. She noticed that the human medical staff didn't distinguish between species when providing aid. They simply treated whoever needed help most urgently. Is this typical human behavior? She asked Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the ship's chief medical officer. What? Helping people who are hurt? Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? Many species prioritize their own kind in crisis situations. Dr. Walsh paused in her work to look at Liara with genuine puzzlement. That doesn't make sense. Pain is pain, regardless of what species feels it. That evening, Marcus found Liara in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. The freighters were now safely docked with the Pathfinder, their crews and passengers integrated into the ship's emergency protocols. Deeper understanding. 3 weeks had passed since the battle in the outer system, and the UES Pathfinder had finally received clearance to begin colonization operations on Xerion Prime. The surface teams were already establishing the first settlement, and supply shuttles moved constantly between the ship and the planet below. Liara had integrated seamlessly into the ship's daily operations, and Marcus found himself looking forward to their evening conversations. She had a unique perspective on human behavior that often made him see his own species in a new light. Captain, she said one evening as they walked through the ship's botanical section, I've been observing your crew for weeks now, and I've noticed something puzzling. What's that? You have strict military protocols and chain of command, yet individuals frequently offer suggestions or alternatives to orders. In most species, such behavior would be considered insubordination. Marcus paused beside a small earth oak tree that had been growing in the ship's garden for 2 years. We call it creative disagreement. The best solutions often come from unexpected sources. But how do you maintain discipline if everyone questions orders? There's a difference between questioning orders and refusing to follow them, Marcus explained. My crew knows that when I give an order, they need to follow it. But they also know I value their input and expertise. As if to demonstrate his point, Lieutenant Torres's voice came over the comm system. Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from the colony site. Team Leader Harrison is requesting immediate consultation. On our way, Marcus replied. Miss Vex, would you like to observe a human problem-solving session? The briefing room was filled with holographic displays showing the colony site from multiple angles. Team Leader David Harrison, a weathered man in his 50s, appeared on the main screen with dust covering his environmental suit. Captain, we've encountered a significant problem. The geological surveys missed an underground river system directly beneath the proposed agricultural zone. The ground is too unstable for heavy farming equipment. Marcus studied the geological data. Options? We could relocate the entire agricultural section to the Eastern Valley, but that would add 6 months to the schedule and require clearing significantly more native vegetation. Alternative suggestions? Marcus asked, looking around the room. Lieutenant Commander Voss spoke up. What if we work with the water instead of against it? Could we redirect the underground streams to create an irrigation system? Engineering? Officer Chen added, we could use the water flow to power hydroelectric generators, turn the problem into an advantage. Dr. Walsh, joining from the colony site, contributed, the native vegetation along the water system might be beneficial. I've been studying the local plant life, and some species could be integrated into our crops for enhanced nutrition. Liara watched in fascination as the discussion evolved. Each person contributed their expertise while building on others' ideas. There was no hierarchy of suggestions. Everyone's input was considered equally valuable. Harrison, what's your assessment? Of the combined approach? Marcus asked. It's ambitious, but it could work. We'd need to coordinate engineering, agriculture, and ecology teams closely. Then let's do it. Chen, I want preliminary engineering reports in 48 hours. Dr. Walsh, begin detailed studies of the native plant integration. Voss, coordinate the team assignments. As the meeting dispersed, Liara remained behind with Marcus. That was remarkable. You completely changed the mission parameters based on subordinate suggestions. The best leaders listen more than they talk, Marcus said. My job isn't to have all the answers. It's to make sure we find the right answers. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the bridge. Marcus and Liara hurried to the command center, where they found Patricia Voss coordinating. With multiple stations. Sir, we're detecting seismic activity on the planet's surface. Magnitude 6.8 earthquake in the northern continent. Casualties? Unknown. The tremor was centered near the Zarian capital city of Nithara. All communication with the surface has been disrupted. Marcus felt his stomach clench. What about our colony site? No damage reported. The southern continent appears to be unaffected. Sir, Communications Officer Torres called out, I'm receiving fragmentary distress signals from Nithara. It sounds like there's been significant structural damage. Marcus looked at the tactical display showing the planet below. The northern continent was shrouded in dust clouds where the earthquake had struck. Torres, can you establish contact with the Zarian emergency services? Negative, sir. Their communication networks appear to be down. Liara stepped forward, her face pale, with concern. Captain, Nithara has a population of over 2 million. If the infrastructure has been damaged, how long until local emergency services can respond? Marcus asked. Based on Zarian bureaucratic protocols, probably 12 to 18 hours for initial assessment, then another day for coordinated response, Liara replied. Marcus made his decision without hesitation. All department heads to the briefing room. Emergency protocols are now in effect. Within minutes, the ship's senior staff had assembled. Marcus activated the holographic display showing the disaster zone. People, we have a humanitarian crisis developing on the planet's surface. The Zarian capital has been hit by a major earthquake, and local emergency services are overwhelmed. We're going to help. Commander Brooks looked puzzled. Sir, we're not equipped for disaster relief operations. We're a colony ship. We have medical facilities, engineering teams, and transport capabilities, Marcus replied. That makes us the most qualified relief operation in the system. Dr. Walsh nodded enthusiastically. The medical bay can be converted to handle mass casualties. We have surgical suites and emergency supplies. Engineering teams can assist with structural assessment and rescue operations, Chen added. Sir, Patricia said carefully, this would be a massive undertaking. We'd be committing significant resources to help a non-human population. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Liara watched the human faces around the table, wondering how they would respond to this challenge. Commander Voss, Marcus said quietly, are you suggesting we shouldn't help because they're not human? No, sir. I'm just pointing out the resource implications. Noted. Anyone else have concerns about helping earthquake victims? The silence stretched for several seconds before Dr. Walsh spoke up. Captain, I became a doctor to help people. I don't care what species they are. I agree, Chen said. We have the capabilities, we should use them. One by one, each department head voiced their support for the relief mission. Marcus felt a surge of pride in his crew. Very well. Dr. Walsh, prepare the medical facilities for mass casualties. Chen, I want engineering teams ready for search and rescue operations. Voss, coordinate with the quartermaster for emergency supplies. Torres, keep trying to establish communication with the surface. Sir, Liara said, I should mention that Xerion physiology is significantly different from human. Medical procedures that work for humans might not be appropriate for my species. Then you'll serve as medical consultant, Marcus decided. Work with Dr. Walsh to establish treatment protocols. Over the next several hours, the Pathfinder transformed into a humanitarian relief vessel. Medical bays were expanded, engineering teams prepared rescue equipment, and supply coordinators organized emergency provisions. Liara worked closely with the medical staff, sharing her knowledge of Xerion physiology and helping to modify human medical equipment for alien anatomy. She was amazed by the humans' adaptability and their willingness to learn. Dr. Walsh, she said during a break in their preparations, why are you doing this? These aren't your people. The older woman looked at her with genuine surprise. Liara, they're injured people who need help, that's all that matters. But you're risking your own safety and resources. That's what we do. It's what makes us human. As the first rescue shuttles prepared to launch toward the disaster zone, Marcus found himself on the bridge coordinating the complex operation. Liara stood beside him, watching the humans work with quiet efficiency. Captain, she said softly, I think I understand now why humanity has been so successful in space. Oh? What's your conclusion? You don't just explore the galaxy. You make it better. You see problems as opportunities to help, challenges as chances to grow stronger. You turn strangers into friends and obstacles into advantages. Marcus smiled as he watched the rescue shuttles disappear into the planet's atmosphere. Miss Vex, I think this assignment is working out better than either of us expected. Indeed, Captain. Though I suspect the real adventure is just beginning. Bonds forged in crisis. The rescue operation on Xerion Prime's northern continent had been underway for 18 hours, and the UES Pathfinder had become the unofficial coordination center for the entire relief effort. The ship's corridors buzzed, with activity as medical teams treated injured Xerions, engineering crews coordinated rescue operations, and logistics personnel managed the flow of supplies to the disaster zone. Marcus stood in the main medical bay, watching Dr. Walsh and her team work alongside Liara to treat earthquake victims. The sight of humans and Xerions working together seamlessly filled him with a sense of accomplishment that went beyond mere mission success. Captain, Lieutenant Torres called from a nearby communication station, I have High Counselor Zafara on the priority channel. Marcus moved to the communications panel, noting the exhaustion in the Xerion leader's normally composed features. Her elegant silver hair was disheveled and her golden facial markings seemed dulled by stress. High Counselor, how can we assist you? Captain Kane, I am calling to express the profound gratitude of the Xerion people. Your crews have saved over 3,000 lives in the past day. The efficiency and compassion of your relief efforts have exceeded all expectations. We're honored to help, High Counselor. Is there anything else we can do? Zephyra's expression became more serious. Actually, yes. We have located the source of yesterday's seismic activity. It was not a natural earthquake. Marcus felt his blood run cold. What do you mean? Our geological teams have discovered evidence of artificial seismic charges placed in strategic locations beneath Nathara. Someone deliberately caused this disaster. The implications hit Marcus immediately. The same ships that attacked the freighters. We believe so. The attack patterns suggest they were testing our response capabilities and your willingness to intervene. Liara appeared at Marcus's shoulder, her golden eyes wide with alarm. Captain, if they're studying human behavior, this could be preparation for a larger attack. Marcus nodded grimly. High Counselor, we need to discuss this in person. Can you come aboard? I'm already en route, Captain. We arrive in 20 minutes. When the Xerian shuttle docked, High Counselor Zafara was accompanied by two other officials Marcus hadn't met before. Liara served as cultural interpreter as they gathered in the main briefing room. Captain Kane, Zafara began, I want you to meet Military Coordinator Thexus and Intelligence Analyst Viridian. They have information about our mysterious attackers. Thexus, a tall male Xerion with deep blue markings, activated a holographic display showing star charts and tactical data. The ships that attacked your freighters belong to a group calling themselves the Void Collective. They're a coalition of species that view humanity's rapid expansion as a threat to galactic stability. How many species are involved? Marcus asked. At least 7 different races, possibly more, Viridian replied, her voice carrying a melodic accent similar to Liara's. They believe that humanity's aggressive exploration and colonization will eventually lead to conflict with established civilizations. Marcus studied the tactical data. So they decided to start that conflict themselves? Their logic is flawed but consistent, Thexus explained. They want to demonstrate that humans are inherently violent and cannot be trusted with advanced technology. The earthquake was a test, Zafira added. They wanted to see if humans would prioritize their own safety over helping others. Liara stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. They expected you to abandon the rescue efforts when faced with a potential threat, didn't they? Exactly, Viridian confirmed. Most species would have withdrawn their forces and focused on defensive preparations. Instead, humans increased their relief efforts. Marcus felt a surge of pride in his crew and his species. What's their next move likely to be? Based on their previous actions, they'll probably attempt a direct assault on the colony site, Thexus said. They want to force humans into a purely military response. How long do we have? Our intelligence suggests 48 to 72 hours before they strike. Marcus looked around the room at the assembled faces, human and Xerion alike. High Counselor, what resources can your people contribute to the defense? Zafara hesitated. Captain, Xerion military doctrine emphasizes defensive positions and prolonged negotiations. We are not equipped for the kind of rapid response warfare that may be necessary. With respect, High Counselor, I think you're underestimating your people's capabilities. I've watched Xerions work alongside my crew for the past day. You have the skills. You just need to apply them differently. Lieutenant Commander Voss spoke up. Sir, what if we combined human tactical flexibility with Xerion strategic planning? We could create a defense that's both innovative and thorough. Elaborate, Commander. The Xerions excel at detailed analysis and long-term planning. We're good at adapting quickly to changing circumstances. If we work together, we could anticipate the enemy's moves while maintaining the flexibility to counter unexpected tactics. Liara's eyes lit up with understanding. A hybrid approach, Xerion planning with human execution. Exactly, Marcus said, feeling the pieces of a plan beginning to form. High Counselor, would your people be willing to work with us on joint defense preparations? Zafira consulted quietly with her advisors before responding. Captain, the Xerion High Council authorizes full cooperation with human forces. We will place our resources at your disposal. Over the next 36 hours, the Pathfinder became the center of the most intensive military preparation either species had ever undertaken. Human engineers worked with Xerion architects to design defensive positions that maximized both species' strengths. Tactical officers collaborated on battle plans that incorporated Zerion analytical precision with human adaptability. Liara found herself serving as more than just a cultural liaison. She had become a bridge between two very different approaches to problem solving. She worked with both sides, helping them understand not just what each species could do, but why they approached challenges the way they did. "Captain," she said during one of their late-night planning sessions, "I've learned something important about both our species." "What's that?" "Zerians and humans are more similar than either of us realized. We both want to protect what we care about. We just have different methods." Marcus looked up from the tactical displays. "How so?" "Zerians plan extensively because we want to make sure we don't make mistakes that could hurt others. Humans act quickly because you don't want to let people suffer while you're still planning." "Different approaches, same goal," Marcus mused. "Precisely. And when we combine those approaches..." An alert chimed from the communication station. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting multiple contacts approaching the system. Configuration matches the Void collective vessels." Marcus activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. The enemy fleet has arrived. All personnel to battle stations, this is not a drill." As the crew moved to their positions, Marcus turned to Liara. "Miss Vex, I want you to know that having you here has made a tremendous difference. You've helped us understand not just your people, but ourselves." "Captain, if I may, I'd like to remain on the bridge during the battle. It's going to be dangerous." "I know, but I want to be here. I want to see how humans face impossible odds." Marcus smiled, remembering their first meeting. "In that case, welcome to the bridge crew, Miss Vex." The battle for Zerion Prime began at dawn. Ship's time. The Void collective fleet consisted of 15 vessels of various sizes and configurations, representing the combined military might of 7 different species. Against them stood the Pathfinder, 3 Zerion defense platforms, and a handful of smaller vessels. "Incoming transmission from the enemy fleet," Torres reported. "On screen." The view screen filled with the image of a reptilian alien with scarred features and cold, calculating eyes. "Human vessel, I am Commander Scarix of the Void Collective. You will withdraw from this system immediately or face annihilation." Marcus stood, straightening his uniform. "Commander Scarix, this is Captain Marcus Kane. We're not going anywhere." "Foolish humans, you cannot defeat our combined forces. Surrender now and we will allow your civilians to evacuate." "Counteroffer," Marcus replied calmly. "You leave this system immediately, and we won't destroy your entire fleet." Scarix's laugh was harsh and grating. "You have one ship against 15. What makes you think you can win?" Marcus glanced at Liara, who nodded encouragingly. "Because we're not alone, and because you've made the same mistake that everyone who underestimates humanity makes." "What mistake is that?" "You assume we'll fight fair." The transmission ended and Marcus turned to his crew. "All right, people. Let's show them what happens when humans and Zerians work together." The battle that followed would be remembered, in both species' histories, as a perfect example of cooperative warfare. Human ships used their mobility and aggressive tactics to draw enemy fire, while Zerion platforms provided precise, coordinated support. The colonists on the surface, both human and Zerion, worked together to evacuate civilians and coordinate defensive efforts. Liara watched from the bridge as Marcus orchestrated the complex battle, his commands flowing seamlessly between human and Zerion units. She realized that she was witnessing the birth of something new, not just an alliance, but a true partnership between species. When the last Void collective ship either surrendered or fled the system, the victory celebration was shared by both humans and Zerions. In the weeks that followed, as the joint colony took shape on Zerion Prime's surface, Liara found herself staying aboard the Pathfinder rather than returning to her homeworld. "Captain," she said one evening as they watched the sunset over their new home, "I have a confession to make." "What's that?" "I wasn't really assigned to you randomly. I volunteered specifically for this mission because I wanted to understand humans. I thought you were either the greatest threat the galaxy had ever seen or its greatest hope. Marcus raised an eyebrow. And what's your conclusion? Liara smiled, her golden eyes reflecting the alien sunset. You're both. And that's exactly what the galaxy needs. As the stars appeared in the darkening sky above their new world, Marcus realized that this assignment had changed him as much as it had changed Liara. They had started as strangers thrown together by law and circumstance. They had become partners, friends, and something more. Ambassadors for the possibility that different species could not just coexist, but thrive together. Liara, he said quietly, would you consider making this assignment permanent? Captain, she replied with a smile that held all the warmth of two worlds. I thought you'd never ask. The future stretched before them, full of challenges and possibilities. But they would face it together, human and Xerian, bound not by law, but by choice, proving that sometimes the best partnerships are the ones nobody plans for.